What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the Buy the Hood podcast or webcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host, as always. My name is Jimmy, and as we start off every show, that's with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to everyone who supports anything we got going on. Special shout out to all the students at Buy the Hood University. My brother Corey is also not on this episode because he's traveling right now, but he will be back. Listen, our platform is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who are doing amazing work in the community, building businesses, and just to show these stories. And it's all about positivity. So listen, this guest we got on right now is a good brother, man, a great supporter, and someone who I definitely want to highlight his story. His brother Kyron Ryals here, man. Listen, he's a second generation real estate investor. And I think that's important to point out and talk about. But he's also building other businesses amongst that, serial entrepreneur. So Kyron, what's up, brother? How you?
What's going on, Jimmy? How you?
Oh man, I can't complain, man. By the way, it's a fire T-shirt. I gotta say that for those watching the video, you see that shirt. That's dope.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to the ancestor, man. Listen, but let's talk. Let's first of all, let's start about your background, man. Where are you from? You know, how were you raised? How'd you come up?
So I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Both my parents were postal workers. And I was not the best student in school.
Okay, so what part of North Jersey?
In Newark.
Newark. Okay, Newark.
Yeah.
As the locals say, Newark.
They N-O-R-K.
Yeah. I'm like Newark. They're like, no, it's Newark. So I want to make sure I say that the right way, man. Shout out to everybody from Newark. But yeah, so you from Newark? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was not the best student growing up, but got through a little bit.
Yeah, that's what's up. So your parents both were postal workers, but just from knowing you a little bit, I know that you're second generation in the real estate. How'd they get into real estate?
So my pops, around the time I was born, my pops was probably like in his 50s. And he had already been doing real estate. In fact, my mom lived in one of my dad's properties. So my pops had been in the real estate for probably 20 to 25 years by the time I was born.
Okay, so you were a late baby for your pops.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was the last one.
Okay, he's the last one before he's done. Okay, so I guess he was buying properties as he was working his job at the post office, right?
Yeah, and I just found out he was buying everything cash, like not using any type of debt, not really building any type of reserves. He was just saving up money, going to the auction and buying stuff cash.
No, but I think that's a dope story because someone using their 9 to 5, taking whatever money they got and then going to build that empire, so to speak, that changes your life. How has your father's investing impacted your life?
So growing up, it did, but it didn't. Mm-hmm. So like he allowed me sometimes to help do stuff like collecting the rent. Mainly because these are like the building that I lived in. It was like my cousins and my father's friends and my mom's friends. So he allowed me to like collect the rent sometimes. But other than that, it didn't really impact me, or at least I didn't notice because I didn't realize that he was like, I knew he owned it, but I didn't realize what that meant.
Okay. So when did you come to realize that, your father was a landlord, a property owner? Like how did that come about when you realized actually what that meant?
Man, I think by the time I realized what it meant, I actually kind of resented him a little bit because I feel like there should have been more for me. Like I feel like I should have got more, I guess, from him because he owned all of this real estate, and in my mind, he was doing very well. So I feel like when I realized it, I started to feel slighted.
Got you. Okay, so coming up, you didn't know that he was doing what he was doing until like later on.
Nah, like he had his hands in a lot of different things, and he exposed me to a lot, but I didn't know that these things made him different. Like I thought this was normal stuff.
Okay, that was your normal. So you thought everybody, okay, yeah. I got you. Okay, got you. Interesting. That's an interesting story. But I know that you've built on that and you're doing other things outside of real estate as well. Like, so I know you're still involved in real estate management and things like that, but You have another company you started. Like, explain that company.
So there's been two iterations of it. When it first started, it was DVS Photography, and I was building a photography company and a photography studio. And more recently, I built on this idea that I had of collaborating creatives. So it's more of a creative agency now. It's called DVS and Company.
Okay, DVS and Company, and it's a creative agency. So when you say creative agency, explain to our listeners, like, how does that work? I mean, what kind of creatives? Is it just photography, it's art, like, arts? Is it, because there's all kind of creatives.
Yeah.
Is
So
it?
it's more, I guess you would call it advertising arts. So the we run the gauntlet of different services. So there's web design, there's graphic design, uh, and graphic design goes into a whole deeper thing. But
Mm-hmm.
but just for overview, it's web design, graphic design. There's screen printing and promotional items. There is photography, videography, and yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty much it.
Okay. So let's go back a little bit. Coming up in Newark, you said you weren't a great student. Did you ever attend college at all?
I did. I came out here to go to college.
Okay.
So high school didn't go that well. High school, I got kicked out of like three or four different schools. This was by my 10th grade year, and before the um before the break for what's that first break? Thanksgiving. Before
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving break, the last school that I attended told me that I couldn't come back.
Mm.
So my parents signed me over to the state of New York, and I went to this program called the Oneonta Academy, and that's where I finished my schooling.
You was wilding as a youngster, huh?
I was, yeah, yeah. I was I was pretty wild. I joined a gang in like sixth grade, and I just ran that course and thought that that was going to be my life.
So what changed for you? The guy I know now, like, this is interesting to me hearing this story because that's not who I know you to be now. So what changed for you?
Uh, I got to live with one of my uncles who was my one of my mother's brothers who was really heavy in the streets back in like the 70s and 80s. I got to live with him. He had done he probably did about 20 years in jail off and on, and living with him gave me a different perspective. He planted different seeds in my head. He made me feel like I could do more.
Okay, that's dope. Shout out to your man. Shout out to all the uncles out there. Stepping up and changing people's lives. Cause that's good. Because I mean, he went through certain experiences. So I guess you know he told you about his experiences to make sure you did something different.
Yeah, I used to run into some of the guys, some of my older guys were some of his young guys. So like they knew exactly who my uncle was, and I was kind of like him. I was a lot like him actually.
Hmm. Okay, so
So
but he's the one that got you on the straight and narrow.
yeah, yeah, he gave me enough. He gave me the room to really go off and do what I wanted, but he always coupled that with, hey, you can't do this forever. This is it's only two ways it's going to end for you. Like
Hmm.
he always was there with like reinforcement. Like he
Okay.
gave me the freedom. Like I traveled the country when I lived with him, and I was like 16.
Hmm.
So he
Yeah.
gave me the freedom, but he also was like he wanted me to do something else.
Dope, dope. That's a dope story. Salute to him. So what got you into photography? Because that's where you said you started your journey into the creative arts. But what was it
Yeah.
about photography and how that started?
So the first thing was my mom bought me a couple of Polaroid cameras when I was probably in like seventh or eighth grade, and I took those Polaroid cameras to heart. Like I used to travel, I used to go everywhere and take those cameras with me and take pictures of everything. And because of some of who my family was outside, I got more access to take pictures of things that I probably shouldn't have,
Hmm.
and I loved it. It was an escape. It was like a release. But I really took it seriously when I got to college, and that just became my thing.
And
And I
what
started.
college was that? What college was that?
So originally I went to Catherine Gibbs, and then I did some classes at UArts.
Okay, okay. And you said so you really got into like photography.
Yeah, yeah, that's what did it. I was a visual arts major, or interactive media design is what they called it too. But photography took it for me. Photography
Got
was it.
got you. All right, that's interesting. So let me ask you this: who would you consider to be, some of the best photographers? Right. So if someone's interested in, say, photography, I don't know anything about photography. Whose work would you show them to say this is talent?
Um, Honestly, it's some people that are around me. So like, there's some older guys. Philly interests me in photography because there's a lot of history here with photographers.
Okay.
So there's some of the old heads like Milton Perry or Raymond Washington. Like there's these phenomenal older guys that Milton Perry he's been a phenomenal fashion photographer since like the 70s,
Hmm.
and Raymond shoots commercial photography, and so like you'll see a lot of advertisements that are his work that are
Okay.
like shot in the city, in and around the city. So those are probably the type of guys that I would show. Like Philly has a and always had a crazy plethora of black photographers
Hmm.
that were like working at the higher levels.
It's interesting, right? So a lot of people may not even know that.
Yeah.
Who wanted to know that history is there. Oh, interesting. How did you go from, okay, I just like photography to turning it into a business and then expanding that business to now doing a creative agency? Like, what does that look like? The entrepreneurial side of a photographer.
So the agency was always one of the goals, and I picked up some mentors in photography because I was most interested in that. So after I picked up some mentors in photography, photography became the goal. Like photography is my calling card. Like it's the thing that I'm able to stand on when I step to other creatives. Like, hey, we should collaborate. I may have some work that's coming down the pipe that fits your aesthetic. That gives me a leg to stand on because I'm pretty accomplished in photography.
Hmm. Nice.
Um, the the building the business around it piece for me, getting understanding photography was the main thing first, and then it was the business second. Like I wanted to grow into mastery of photography before I really focused on the business.
Okay. Okay.
But I had people around me who were like way more focused on the business, so I got to learn the business as I was growing my mastery.
Within the creative space, would you say that's kind of like, all right, so a lot of times, let me preface it by saying this. I know a lot of creatives who are amazing at what they do. And when you hear them as they get older, they always talk about not knowing the business, just focusing on the creative side, right? So
Yeah,
there's the dichotomy there. Like you want to be the best at what you do, but it's almost like you have to know some of the business in order to, kind of scale up or what have you. Like
yeah,
how what is that struggle like? You know what I mean? Because you said you want to focus on that piece before you get to the business, but you're also
yeah,
building a business and you don't want to, lose on the way up.
yeah, yeah. So I'd say I spent actually probably spent more time building a business and didn't realize it.
Hmm.
Um, we ran a photography studio. It's still up now. It's just a different name, but we ran a photography studio. So I had to learn the business because I had to figure out how I was going to pay my studio rent.
Yeah.
So what I ended up learning, I ended up learning more about just the business of photography. I ended up learning more about the business of being a creative
Okay.
because there's a lot of minutia. That's why you always hear that creatives rather just create than actually do the business side. There's a lot of minutia in there, contracts, paperwork, understanding like their rights to the things that they create, and
Yeah.
licensing issues, all of that stuff makes the work of being a creative a little bit more difficult.
Hmm. Yeah, because
Um,
I always hear like, stories, the horror stories from the amazing creatives, and they say, if I only knew the business, I would be here and I'm not here.
yeah,
So I think about that. So let me ask you this: in building this agency out, are you still active in the real estate? I know that I think that you're still active in real estate too, right?
yeah. So, my wife and I, we purchased a quad in 2019. So we have a 4 unit. Um, we helped my mother-in-law out a little bit with her duplex,
Okay,
and I um I formed a LLC to help our father out with his properties.
got you.
So that LLC is my father, and my siblings.
Okay, okay. So I guess like you came along, at the acquire these properties, trying to work on the organization piece, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, how's that
And just
coming along?
it's it's interesting. Uh, so I formed the LLC because, like, LLCs can act as holding companies.
Hmm.
So I didn't think that I would get my dad to agree to a trust. So I'm like, all right, if I form an LLC, I'm pretty sure dad can sign over the property to the LLC because he's a part of it.
Hmm.
So that's the reason that I did it. And when I first formed it, he didn't want to do that.
Okay, got you.
So the idea was, all right, cool, we'll just help you by managing the properties. That's what we'll do. Like, we'll just manage everything for you. He kind of didn't want us to do that at first either. So we were a little bit in limbo, like trying to figure out, all right, are we gonna buy something? Are we gonna, like, what are we gonna do then? And so he recently came back around and was like, you know what? I do want to sign over the properties to you guys. I
Okay.
think he's doing it so he can go buy more properties, but whatever, it's fine.
No, that's interesting. So I got two questions that come off of that, right? So because you own these properties, you own multiple properties, you have multiple income streams from the rents. How does that help you on the creative side, right? Because a lot of creatives don't have that other side, that other stream of income. How does that help you as a creative having the other stream of income?
Um, so the way the agency works is I partner with other creatives that have specialties.
Okay,
So it really allows me to fight for my team. Like, I'll turn down work if my team don't like it.
got
Like,
you.
if I know I need my screen printer, or if I know I need my graphic illustrator, and the project that we're looking at maybe doesn't sit well with them morally, I'm not gonna push them to be like, yo, we should really take this project because it's gonna be X, Y, and Z. I'll turn it down.
Yeah, see,
I
that's
don't
the
need it.
power. That's the power of assets, right? Um,
Yeah,
Assets give you that ability to kind of like, So a lot of times people say, I don't want to work at all, but I don't even think it's about that. I think it's about being able to do what you want to do, right? So because
yeah,
you get fulfillment sometimes by putting in work, but it's also amazing to be able to choose the projects you work on. And I guess
yeah.
real estate is giving you that ability. That's amazing. And it's also interesting. The other part that came from that is family business. How difficult is it working with family, right? Because it's almost impossible for me. But how difficult is it with you, like the whole idea of a family business?
Um, so I'm the youngest, and there's like large gaps. The next youngest, I'm 36. The next youngest is maybe 52. I think Jamal's 52. Yeah, because the middle, she is exactly 20 years older than me, so she's like
Okay,
56.
so there's huge, so there's gaps there. So how does that work in terms of bumping heads when you guys trying to make decisions?
So I I honestly, because they're so much older than me, I try to sit back. Like,
Got you.
I'll let them know my intentions or what I think should be done. But if they start talking around that, like, I just kind of let them, like, they're the elders, I'm gonna just let them
Yeah,
do their thing.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
then sometimes we get right back to where I said, but
Sometimes you gotta let things play out, right?
yeah, yeah.
I
And
respect that. I respect
that's
that.
the biggest thing that I learned from doing this. Like, I just kind of let the elders just, I'm here. Like,
No,
I'm here.
that's an amazing lesson, man. That's an amazing lesson. In business and in life, sometimes like you just have to let things play out. You just do. Um, so let me ask you this: what does the future hold for you? So you have the real estate portfolio that you've built. You know, your father has built, and you guys are bringing your properties together. You have the creative agency. Um, you love photography, and you're a master at your photography. What does the future hold? What are some of the things you want to work on in the future?
So the photography studio is its own thing, and the photography studio we
So that's
plan
like,
on
so that,
launching.
hold on, not to cut you off. That's a separate business. So
Yeah,
you
it's
have
called the gallery.
a photography studio that you run, but then you
Yeah,
also have a creative agency, and you have the
yeah.
real. You got your hands
So
everywhere, man.
I'm gonna be honest. I do not run the photography studio. I brought in a partner maybe 2018, maybe 2019. Brought in a partner. His name's Taylor Genius. I brought him in, and he runs the day-to-day operations of the
Yeah.
next piece of that is to help some of these younger creatives grow in their space. Um, so our photography studio isn't just a place that photographers can rent. We also help them along. Like, I understand the photography business. Taylor's a dynamic creative. So like we're also here to help them with lighting. I'll put the lighting or the business of photography, just helping them actually create a business out of the thing, out of their passion.
Okay, got you. All right, yeah. So one other thing I realized through this conversation is how you are strategic with your partnerships. Like, so you don't mind partnering with someone to kind of help your business grow or put your business in the right path. Because so you have the photography studio, the creative agency, the real estate piece, and you have partners, and you figure out a way to make that work. Um, First question I have about that is, how difficult is that? Because I know a lot of people don't have they have trust issues, and it's difficult for them to do that. Like, so for you, you seem willing to have partners.
I've I've always been super collaborative. Like that's always been one of my things. One of the first things that I ever did is like a business venture. My cousin, she used to own a bunch of daycares in Newark, and she hired me to clean up daycares after school. I might have been in like seventh grade. So I did that. I did it for maybe 2 weeks so I could get a real understanding of the job. And then I brought in my friends to clean.
So, so that's always been your thing, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I brought in my friends to clean, and I took less money, but I also didn't have to do anything, and I made money.
And so that's when you figured it out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you this: along this journey, getting to where you are today, with the multiple businesses, with the properties, and all that, what has been the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome?
Honestly, so like I said, I joined the gang when I was young. The hardest thing for me was to think about life normally. I purposely conditioned myself to be the best member of the gang that I could be, and that comes with a lot of that comes with like a lot of mental strings. So I had to one get past the idea that I was going to live longer than 18 or 21. I had to get past that.
Mm,
Then there was I have to get past that people are my enemy. I had to get past the idea that everything wasn't a battle, that everyone wasn't trying to hurt me. I had to get past like those are the things. Those were my biggest hurdles, and are things that I still struggle with today. I still have nightmares. Like I still have like I see a therapist. I've been seeing a therapist once a week, every week for at least like a decade.
how's that helped you in your journey?
It's helped a lot. So it's helped me develop coping mechanism. The hardest thing to get past is the is like the waking up out of my sleep part. But other than that, I think I've acclimated good to society. It's almost like re-entering society because I joined the gang so early and I allowed that to be such a big piece of me so early that at 20 something, I had to re-enter society and think about things different. I used to sit in Rittenhouse Square and just like watch people interact with each other.
Wow, man, that's heavy. That's heavy right there. But listen, you've done it. You've done the work. Like I said, when I hear this story about you, this is like, a little shocking to me because you know what I mean. Like I know how accomplished you are, and how smart you are, and some of the things that you're into now. So to think that the story you're telling of who you were, that's kind of like, but that's a testament to your change you've made. So congratulations first and
Thank
foremost.
you.
Yeah. Um, what is your favorite book or something that's helped you along this journey?
One of the first, it was an audio book that my brother sent to me because he realized that I was struggling with like changing my mindset. It's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Okay, Napoleon Hill. Yeah.
And I don't really get down with a whole bunch of like the motivational mindset stuff, but like that book meant a lot to me. Just that there was in the book there's this conversation that he's having with the devil, and that just resonated with me so much. So that's probably one of my favorite books. I think I read it at this point. I probably pick it up like once every couple of years.
Okay. All right. That's a new one, but I do recognize that book. That's a new one. So listen, man. This is an amazing story you told. I want to first of all just thank you for your time and thank you for being so open and willing to share those stories because you're going to help somebody along the way. So want to say thank you about that and wish you much continued success as you build out your real estate empire, you build out the creative agency and the photography studio. So I just want to say thanks for your time. I want to make sure for the audience, I'm going to share the social media links and links to the different projects that he's working on so you guys can take a look at everything he has going on, specifically with the DVS agency. It's DVS agency, right?
DVS and Company.
DVS and Company. Got you. So listen, man, just want to say thanks again. Appreciate you. And that's an amazing story you got, bro. You live in a movie. gotta get the creators on making a documentary or something, man. But so listen, to audience out there, again, just want to say thank you for everything. Make sure you check out everything Kyrons got going on. I'm gonna put those links within the show notes as well as the description. Stay in tune with everything that we have going on. We appreciate you. Take a look at buythehood.com. We have a new design website, which is buythehood.com, where if you go to buythehood.com, by the way, you get a free webinar on an intro to the stock market. So definitely go check that out.
I think I got that one already.
No, yeah, listen. No, this one is a webinar we did. It's a free webinar. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Yeah. So, but this is free. We're giving this away for free to everybody. Just as a way to say, thank you for all the support that we get, and also just to get people that may not have gotten involved in the market yet, just a little bit of exposure and tell them why. But we still out here trying to do good work. Kyron is doing good work, man. And anything you need from us, we're here to support you, bro.
For sure. Same.
Absolutely, man. So listen, for the audience out there, as we always say, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much you keep. Game elevates, and we shall see you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.